that, Robbie. My name's Lochlan. I'm a principal advisor with NZTA. No one really knows what principal advisor actually means, including within my own organisation. But effectively, it means I get to come along and talk to groups such as yourself about projects such as the Nodanga to Petone section of the Wellington to Hutt Valley Walking and Cycling Link, which is a horrible name, but a really cool project. One of the reasons why it's a horrible name is it mentions walking and cycling, and it is far more than either of those things. So this is a facility for walking, it is a facility for cycling, but if we were only doing a project that catered for those two things, it wouldn't happen. It simply wouldn't get across the line. So this also is takes into account resilience features, it protects the rail and road, it adds ecological features, cultural features, environmental features, it has health benefits. It is a combination of all of those things, and it is because of that that we are putting it forward as a project for consideration and hopefully resource consent later this year. So to give you a quick breakdown of what it is the middle section of the Wellington to Hutt Valley Walking and Cycling Link. A missing link, if you will, because at the moment there is absolutely no way of getting down to that coast, which is part of the issue there. So this Wellington part is being done as part of Let's Get Wellington Moving, that's led by the City Council, and this bit up the top is what we call Petone to Melling, which is another walking and cycling link from Petone to Melling. That is due to be starting within the next few months, basically, well, at least by the end of the year. So this has been talked about for about a century or so, Mr. Bishop. Good. And we've been doing work on it since about 2012, I believe it was, well, before my time there. These boards are what we presented during May and June when we were getting the latest round of public feedback on this prior to going and applying for resource consent. So that's a quick overview. I'm going to run through these fairly quickly because I hate standing up and just talking at people. I'd rather actually give you a sort of rundown of what this is and then happy to take whatever questions you got and try to answer them. We're very conscious when we build this, we can't simply build a boring old path. We want to turn this into more of an experience really, a destination in itself. And as we do that, we have to consider places for people to stop, to recreate, places for ecology, for planting. Make it more of an experience than simply getting from point A to point B. Like I said, this is not a cycling project, it's not a walking project, it's a combination of all of those things. To do that, we've had to take some approaches to our design. You notice down there, this was a washout from a few years ago. I said that resilience is a key benefit of this. We are working with Kiwi Rail because they have a huge benefit out of this. The path actually provides protection to the road and the rail corridor. It will have varying widths. The standard is going to be a 5 metre wide path. That's pretty big. That's basically from here to the other side of the wall. Then it will have your standard sloping seawall there. But as the path goes along its journey, we'll have little areas where people can stop, they can rest. We'll have little offshore islands where birds can nest. We'll have areas for people to take in wakaama or rowing or simply enjoy the sea there. We're calling them uranga or landings, and they'll provide points of interest along the journey. Our work with mana whenua is extremely important in this. Part of the issue with what we have at the moment is our harbour is not being celebrated, it's not being respected. When was the last time anyone actually managed to get down to this piece of the coastline? It hasn't been for quite some time now, and if you do actually manage to get down there, or at least go on the train from Petone to Nodanga, you'll see that there's basically nothing there. Much of it is what we call riprap, which is just a solid concrete wall. It's pretty horrible, no one can access it. The harbour is not being respected, we want to change that. And so we're working with mana whenua, primarily Taranaki whānui, to recognise the history of this area, the rich cultural significance of it, and incorporating some designs within that. We don't quite know what all of those are, these are just concepts at the moment, but you'll see how that will be incorporated within the path, and we'll be trying to tell a story about what was there previously and the places along the path itself. The unfortunate thing is, as we create this path, we do have to destroy, because what we are trying to do is reclaim much of that coastline. Now, reclamation is extremely difficult, and we have to meet a very high standard to be able to justify any reclamation into the coastline. So we'll be trying to keep the path as small as we can, but in places we will be trying to push it out a little bit. We will be trying to avoid high value ecological areas, but we also have to take into account that birds and marine life and lizards do already live there. So what we are trying to do is avoid destroying areas that have high ecological values and add to the areas where we are building. So as we build this wall, we will have areas where penguins will be able to come and rest. We're told by Doc that it's not a matter of when, if, but when seals will actually come and habitate on the path. So we need to take all of that stuff into consideration. We have areas for invertebrates, for lizards. So this is a key consideration for us. We need to be able to convince the commissioners that we are doing the right thing from an ecological point of view. And so we do have ecologists out there at the moment looking at what is actually out there and what we can do to try and mitigate those effects that building out into this existing area will have.
The penguins won't have to go to the sushi bar then, will they?
No, no.
There must be no involved with the food.
True.
And just finally, these are some concepts of what it would look like. So I mentioned the sort of built out areas. I hope you can actually see those. There's a couple of them down there where the path will actually sort of weave in and out. You will have a little bit more space. These are generally built in areas where there is some land to build on, or perhaps where the marine habitat isn't as high value. This is the Petone end, if you know that very well. That's the water ski club there. That will join seamlessly up to the Petone to Melling link. You'll be able to walk directly to Petone Esplanade. And down the other end at Noranga, I didn't bring the board, but we'll have an overbridge that will go over the rail and connect seamlessly with the paths over there. So look, that's where we are at the moment anyway. I hope that's given you a quick summary of what the project is, what we're hoping to achieve, and where we are going with it, and happy to take any questions you got and try and answer them for you.
So will that get rid of the fact that you can't legally go in two directions on the one that's there at the moment?
Correct. Yeah. So the path, if you don't know it terribly well, there is a path on the southbound shoulder of State Highway 2. It's horrible. It is, yeah, it's called a shared path, but it's not up to standard at all. Everyone knows that. This is intended to replace that.
So you're going to sweep this one then?
What's that, sorry?
This one's going to be swept?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So this will be wide enough for maintenance vehicles to get across. Part of the issue with that existing one is it's too skinny in places. The design of that sea wall as well is also designed to keep too much flotsam jetsam from getting all over the path as well. And because it's a lot further away from the motorway, you won't get as much rubbish coming off the road on there. So absolutely, when we went out to public consultation engagement, that was one of the key things people told us, is got to make sure it's maintained. Separation was one of the other key things. People wanted to know how we're going to provide for walkers, for cyclists, for wheelchairs, for scooters, for dog walking, whatever it might be. We know that is a key consideration. We're planning to have a couple of further workshops with key stakeholders and try and come up with some sort of solution that works for everyone. I have to say, when you're working within a 5 metre area though, and you don't have much room to play with, trying to find a solution that works for everyone's proving quite difficult. But
Not 5 lanes, do you?
But we know we've got to address that, and we're working
Take a seat if you like.
It's all right. We
So
take them.
I can't quite see it. It's got a fence, isn't it, between the railway
Yeah,
and
so
itself?
there will have to be a fence between the path and the railway. We're told it has to be seal-proof. It also has to be see-through as well.
Child-proof, yeah.
Oh, see-through.
Leopard sea.
Yeah, so for from a crime prevention point of view, and also from just a visual point of view, we can't put a solid wall up and prevent anyone who's actually in the car or on the train from being able to see. So that will be one of the things there. I can't tell you the exact design of the fence, other than it has to be see-through, and we'll probably be incorporating some sort of lighting within that.
Use the cane mail, you know, the chain mail from cane mail. Totally product.
I'll put it on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, the architectural mesh from around the corner from here. Yeah.
Is it seal-proof?
But anyway.
And it won't be graffitied.
No.
Well, it shouldn't be graffitied. It should
Totally
be.
product. Yeah, it looks awesome. Anyway, just we can talk.
Yeah.
Parking wise, is it just either end?
We know that there will be demand for parking, so we're currently working with councils at the moment. Honiara Te Puni Reserve is, going to be the key area for the Petone end of things. We don't know what the final version of that will look like, other than we know that there will be some sort of need for car parking there. And likely something around Nodonga as well, but we're a bit tighter with space up at the Nodonga end, or down at the Nodonga end.
I'm just thinking with more dolphins and whales coming in, people might want to just drive up and get out there and do some viewing.
Oh, absolutely. And that's part of the thinking. We do need to provide parking so that people can get out and walk a few hundred metres down or whatever it might be, and sit in one of those viewing areas.
Up the state highway like they usually do.
Yeah, just stop and look. Yeah.
So what about like picnic areas, seating areas and things like that, as like you've talked about recreation areas along the way? Is there areas for people to sit out and...
There will be. So we'll have seating, bike racks. We've had a lot of people asking about shelter along the path. That's a bit of a harder ask. You don't really want a great big shelter in the middle of this thing.
Yeah.
There has to be some sort of allowance for the fact that we do live in the Wellington region. There is a lot of wind and rain that comes with it. So that's part of the experience itself. But there will be facilities for all that sort of thing as well.
But then you could use metal crowns plastic seats that are made out of metal, made out of plastic, recycled plastic. That would work perfectly on that one. And they are Seaview Company.
Yeah.
Recycling plastic seats.
Add them to the list too.
Yep, please add those to the list. Yep. Yep. Recycling, but they should cope with our seating for the wet weather.
Other things around Plimerton, were they involved the community in designing particular seating and things and had competitions for different large seats as well? It's just another throwing it in the mix.
Okay. So the process from here will be that we'll apply for resource consent realistically at the start of next year, and during that process we'll be looking at the detailed design. So that's when we start to look at things like seating and bike racks and basically everything that we don't need in order to get resource consent. The priority is securing that 5 metre path and the structure in itself, and then everything else on top of that is what follows.
How have you found regional council, like obviously would have talked to them about consents and stuff already? I'm a town planner by the way, so.
They're also a funding partner,
Excellent.
which is very good. So look, we've had nothing but support from all of our council partners, which is really encouraging. And in fact, general support for the project. The only lack of support we've been seeing is from a desire to see other projects progressed. So very few people are disagreeing with the value of this, but as Mr Bishop will know, there's also demand for the Melling interchange, for Petone to Granada. We understand that. I guess I'm just standing in front of you today saying, I don't get paid enough to talk about that one.
So I suppose I was just thinking of in terms of getting a consent, like how difficult it is to do reclamation in the coastal area.
From what I understand, bearing in mind I'm not an expert in consents at all,
Yeah.
very difficult. Very difficult indeed, which is why we need to tick all of these boxes, which is why we need to have those discussions with our stakeholders now, which is why we need to have those relationships with Mana Whenua, with DOC, with Kiwi Rail. Because without the support of everyone in this project, we're not going to get it across the line. No one in the agency is under any illusions that this is a tough ask, really tough. But we're giving it everything.
Could the JSP make a submission?
Have we made a submission?
Do the consent process? Probably could, eh?
Yeah, it's going to be public.
As a
Oh,
body.
yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
anyone can write one if it's public.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think it'll be great for the Petone. There will be more people, I believe, from Wellington walking and running out at Petone.
Well,
It's not that far.
one of the considerations for this,
You know?
yeah, our business case started in about 2012. and it used figures from 2012 to 2014. What's happened in the last 4 years? E-bikes have gone through the roof.
Yeah.
What's happened in the last year or so? We've seen e-scooters. And so all of our figures that contribute to the benefit cost ratio, basically how much money it will bring in versus how much money it goes out, you know what I'm saying, doesn't include those. And so I think the figures were something like it expects around 750 users per day. I can see no reason now why that wouldn't be well north of 1,000 when you think how many people would now catch an e-scooter, catch it at one end, dump it at the other end, get your e-bike, whatever it might be. The options for people coming from Wellington on a beautiful sunny day, grab an e-scooter, come out to Petone, have lunch, spend some time at the beach, head back in, you know, it's going to be a transformational project.
It's just safer for cyclists as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Way
Yeah.
safer.
Yeah.
You get a lot
And the
more
cruise
of
ship
those.
visitors, you know, they'll
Yeah.
scoot out and do all that.
Yeah.
And you could do a one-way, you know, train and walk the cycles and
Exactly.
take
Yeah,
a ride
exactly.
on the train.
One thing I do worry about is, when we talk to a few cyclists, they tell me they still want to use it, because they prefer to go on the road.
And we know that if you're a really hard out commuter cyclist, you probably don't want to share it. And you know, if you're a confident enough cyclist, there's actually nothing wrong with the shoulder on State Highway 2. You know, if you're tracking along there at 40 k's an hour, you're comfortable with large vehicles being next to you, there's nothing to stop you. You know, we're not going to prevent people from still using the state highway if they want to. And in fact, we'd prefer that if they're going 40 or 45 k's an hour, they do that rather than doing it with kids and dogs. Or
It's going to create anger though.
It is, and we know that we need to work with.
Because people say, hang on, you've got your cycleway, why are you getting my way? But, you know, it's not particularly rational, but
I think it'll open it up and make it more accessible to people who wouldn't use the state highway. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
who are
true,
too scared to use the state highway because it's like cars and
I
bikes.
A lot of people
So
don't.
they might just amble along there.
Yeah.
And there are still cyclists that complain about the current situation.
oh yeah, well the cyclists will say, we want that, but we'll use the road, thanks.
No, that's
So
their choice.
Yeah,
That's
I
their
know.
choice.
Well,
Yeah.
there will be a bit of angst, I think, because you do get some motorists who say, well, hang on, you know, you've got this expensive cycleway,
Yeah.
now you're
So
still
it's
on the
gonna
road,
make
Yeah.
which,
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever avoid all of the angst,
there's not a lot you
unfortunately.
can do about that.
Yeah.
It's not hard to obey.
The cyclists out here are way better at driving safer
Exactly.
than the ones in Wellington.
That's true, they are.
They wear more safety gear and they're more aware of the traffic. If you go into Wellington, you're just black, don't have any lights.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
hopefully we'll have safe people.
We have a lot of bikers come from Eastbourne.
Mm.
A lot of cyclists come from Eastbourne and come right cycling to work.
I think it's an awesome project.
Mm.
What's the walking time? If you walked from one, you know, just a Sunday afternoon stroll, what would it take you?
Now,
Oh, that's not bad.
yeah, I think it's just a touch over 4 k's from
Yeah.
from end to end before you get to the other, you know, if you wanted to go to Petone Station or whatever it might be. So it depends how fast you walk, but roughly an hour.
It's a nice Sunday afternoon stroll.
Yeah,
15 minutes.
Yeah, lovely.
Okay, yeah.
yeah, and of
When it
course, you know,
first opened, it was fine. I remember walking there when it was still no rubbish and very good road, very good
Yeah.
cycling road. Walking it.
So what do you need, Lochlan, in terms of support to help get things moving, like in terms of the audience that's here today?
like Chris mentioned, submissions of public support.
Yeah.
Once we've put in for resource consent, I mean, you're welcome to send things through now. We've already had a few formal submissions,
Yeah.
but it's at the resource consent stage where public support is going to make all the difference there. And the more varied support that we get from different types of groups, whether they have a cultural interest, environmental interest, recreational health, whatever it is, if we can show that support from all of those various areas, then that will help get this project across the line.
And how do people submit those?
It's a good question. I'm not really too sure about how the consent process works itself. It will
Let me
be,
tell you.
yeah,
So what-
it will be a
So
publicly
you'll be
notified.
publicly notified, there'll be something in the paper, so you need to look out for that. When it comes, there'll be something on the, where would the website be, the regional council website?
Yeah, it'll be our website, but we'll
Is it,
be.
yeah.
Is it combined land use and regional council, like is it district and city, regional?
It'll be a
council?
combined one.
Yeah, so all the councils that are involved will have something on their website,
Yeah.
and NZTA will have it. And then you'll have submission forms you can download, and you should have to download all the application documents,
Yeah.
read them. You'll have a month to write a submission,
Yeah.
and then potentially very likely to be hearings. 75 working days from the close of submissions, you get a decision.
Cool. And Vicky's just.
Oh, sorry,
reassured-
no pressure.
Sorry, even the hearing, sorry, I only know because I'm trying to
pressure.
organise one thing I was doing, but you didn't.
No pressure, I don't do the consent part, so it's, no
Yeah.
pressure on me.
You
Just to
can
add to
see
that,
Yeah.
when the newsletter goes out, and we'll probably add it into the newsletter, and
Sure.
there'll be a link to it,
Great,
so
thank you.
everyone can download.
And we,
If anyone
if
needs
you can
outline
hook,
submissions, I can help.
Well,
we'll get, if it does come out with a time frame, we can get Karen to flick an email out to the, on the Facebook and that stuff page.
Yep.
Is that all right?
Yes.
cool. Any more questions for?
Yeah, I like the bus lane there.
That's your double decker bus.
So are they going to do anything like widening the road or widening the train lines and all at the same time? Or is it just being...
No.
No.
No, there was some desire to straighten the train line. You might recall there's sort of about,
Yeah.
there's a couple of little curves in there. Just those little bits up there. And we did do some preliminary investigations there at the crest of Kiwi Rail. That would have added about $30 million to the project. And it would have required extensive reclamation on top of what we're already doing, which would then pose a risk to the project itself. So it's not just cost, it's the fact that we'd be going out further and deeper and destroying more habitat, which, could have posed a further
Kids
risk.
are fun when you're on a train anyway, so get a different
Next
angle of view.
earthquake and just put them back in anyway.
Yeah.
And so for that same reason, trying to add a third lane in there or a fourth lane, prohibitive cost, and I can't even get my head around how you would actually do it. We're not working with a lot of space, unfortunately.
Quite late, isn't it? Awesome.
Mm.
Though Kaikoura, if you think about it, they gained an extra 10 metres into the sea, didn't they? 10?
Yeah.
4? So there still could be hope for us yet.
Oh yeah,
With
I
lots
think they
of-
got to do away with the RMA though, didn't they?
Yeah, they got away with it.
And we need those earthquakes.
They're just raising a whole lot more land up, eh?
All the good stuff
That
got done
on
in
your
those
submission.
earthquakes.
Yeah.
A lot of people would like to see it brought back. It's a different story.
But that would give us more land. That you could actually put the bus on
It's
through.
a serious thing. Well, anyway.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So Evergreen and the RMA gave us the Aris Tunnel, through
Yes,
through
yeah.
the museum.
Cool.
And I don't think we can go under any of that, can we? Yeah, because it's all
Changed
reclaimed
the
land.
atmosphere, isn't it? Was it going to make it more...
Thanks, Lochlan,
more
that's
Okay.
absolutely awesome.
Thank you, Lochlan, really good, really good.
Great project.
Great project. So, keep an eye out on the JSP Facebook page, and Vicky's going to send out communication